Today I'm going to do the quiz 7-1 review. Let's go ahead and take a look at our first question. You're going to be asked to graph an exponential function like this one here. So we are going to go over to Desmos.com and we're going to graph the points and we are going to then go ahead and give the domain and the range. For this graph, just before I go over to Desmos, for this graph, remember that you have two options when you graph it. You can use this tool to plot 5 points, but once you've plotted the points, you are going to have to use one of the acetopes tools to place the acetope, and then it's going to ask you to put in 2 points. So you really only need 2 points for this graph. All right, let's go ahead and look over at Desmos. So I'm going to grab the graphing Desmos at desmos.com, and I'm going to place in the function. Now, because the exponent was x minus 3, I want to make sure that I put it in parentheses when I graph it. There's my graph. I grab the little widget and I can get the table. Now I can put any of those points in, or I could come down here and I could add this point as well, and I could add 4 as well. So I could put in 3 and 4 when x is 3 and when x is 4, 3 comma 1, 4 comma 2, or I could put in any of those decimals. Alex will take them. So I'm going to come back over here. Just remember, you can use this tool right here in Alex to help you plot any of those decimals that we saw. Let me go ahead and make the table real quick. And these are the points that I'm going to use simply because I have the graph here, and it's going to be hard for me to graph those decimals. But you could go ahead and graph the decimals like 1 comma 0.25 and 2 comma 0.5. But you only need the 2. So 3, 1, and 4, 2. But you are going to have to put in the acetope first. So you are going to have to grab that tool that has the horizontal acetope. That's this first one right here, and you're going to place it. And then if you remember from the assignment, it gives you like a little crosshairs to put on this point and this point, and then it will connect them together and make your graph. Oops. There we go. Let me grab the right color, and it'll come in and it'll swoop in your graph. Now, the domain for the exponential functions is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. Every time you graph it, there's very few times when it won't be. The range is going to be hindered and stopped by where your acetope is. And your acetope is at y equals 3. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. Or sorry, at y equals 0. I don't know why I said 3. So my range is going to be from 0 to positive infinity because my graph is up in the positive y values, right? My graph is up here in my positive y values. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at question 2. And of course, we can see question 3 as well. I just had to squeeze them in there. But remember this question number 2 from the first assignment. You're just going to have to plug this in, and so make sure you go to the scientific calculator. It's the link in Schoology that says calculator, and all you're going to do is you're going to grab your base from your function right here, and you're going to substitute x for these numbers right here. So I'm going to put in 5 to the negative 2, 5 to the negative 1, and so on and so on and so on, right? 5 to the 0, 5. So you'll see me put them in to the scientific calculator. So 5 raised to the negative 2. Remember, Alex is not going to accept the decimal answer, and this is why you want to use the scientific Desmos, because you can click this little circle right here and it'll change it to a fraction for you, which is exactly what Alex wants. 5 to the negative 1. Same thing. I'm going to click on the circle to change it to a fraction. 5 to the 0, that one's okay. 5 to the 1, that one's okay. 5 squared. So there's my answers for my table. 1 over 25, 1 over 5, 1, 5, and 25. And I'm just going to go back and I'm going to plug those in. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Just remember to go ahead and use the scientific calculator once again, the one that says calculator in Schoology, and make sure you use your fraction tool. Okay, question number 3 is going to ask you to graph. It is going to ask you to plot the 5 points. So for this one, please make sure that you do get your 5 points. And we're just going to go back over to Desmos.com and we're going to put in our function. I'm going to just go ahead and get my table set up. But of course, remember, on your laptop, you can always work with a split screen, and it really is quite helpful so that you don't have to keep going back and forth. All right, let's click the little widget. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all right there. You can put those points in exactly how they appear, even the fractions. I'm going to go back over to where my Alex page would be. I can put in -2, 0.0625 by using this tool right here. It's going to allow me to put in an ordered pair. And then down here, there's going to be a green button at the bottom that says plot this point. And you just click on it and Alex will plot the point for you. Same thing with this one. Same thing with 0, 1, with 1, 4, and with 2, 16. It's going to plot them all for you, okay? So you just have to come in and plot these points. I'm going to do the best I can. I'll probably just kind of wing those ones at the end. There we go. I'm not too sure, but there we go. Once you get the 5 points plotted, of course, you just want to click this one right here and it'll connect them together for you. All right, question number 4. This was on the first assignment. You could go to Desmos, but you don't have to. The graph that is here, this graph right here that has this point on it, is this graph. And all they want you to do is grab this hand, put it right here on the point, and they want you to move it up or down, left or right. Okay, so that's all they want you to do. How do you know how to move it? This number and this number are going to tell you how to move it. So you're going to identify your H value and you're going to identify your K value. Now remember, when you have an exponential function, it is in this form. This was the main form of my exponential function. And the only letters that you are looking at are H and K, and this is exactly where they should be. So H is going to be this guy right here. Now remember, H is tricky because look at the formula. It has a minus in the formula. So H is trying to trick you. The H right here that I underlined looks like +3, but it's really -3. That means that I'm going to move left 3 units. Okay, so I'm going to put the hand on that little point and I'm going to go count 3 to the left. K is this number right here. Notice K is after the function, so K is what K appears to be. K looks like +2 to me, so K is +2. If it had been -2, then it would be -2. This means that I'm going to move it up 2 because up is positive and down is negative. So all I have to do is grab that point with my hand and move it 1, 2, 3 to the left, and then count 1, 2 up and just click it down right here. Everything will move with it. Alex will move the graph with it, something like this, and that's it, you're done. Okay, that's all you have to do. Could you do this in Desmos? Of course you could, but it's hard to focus on which point it is that they want you to do. Okay, so that's all you have to do. Focus on those two, move it. All right, starting with number 5, we're going to move into our growth and decay models. So question number 5, the function is given for you, and you're just going to answer some questions. Remember the formula. The formula said A equals P times your rate of either growth or decay to the T power. Now, I'm leaving out the plus or the minus because I don't know which one this is. Now, I actually do. I can look right here inside the parentheses. If it starts with a 0, then there's a minus here. If it starts with a 1, then there's a plus here. So this is a decay. Um, And I'm not even reading the question, but it is talking about the dollar value of a certain car model, and those do tend to decrease. So I need to find the initial amount of the car. So the initial amount, remember, is P. The initial amount is P. That would be P. And so take a look at your function. This is in P's spot. So my answer here would be $18,500. I don't know if they have a comma or not. For the last one, they're giving you T. So for the last one, they're giving you T. And so you're just going to go ahead and grab the calculator, and you're going to put 18,500, and you're going to put parentheses 0.95 raised to the 11 years. T equals 11. You're going to plug that into the calculator. Alex will provide a calculator for you that you can use, I do believe, or you can go ahead and go over to this to the scientific Desmos calculator. Either way, it does say to round your answers to the nearest dollar as necessary. So 10,523 is what I ended up with. All right, question number 6. I am going to have to go ahead and read question number 6 because as I look at it, they do not have a formula set up for me. I kind of got away with not reading question 5 because they already had the formula for me. A city has a population of 290,000 people. Suppose that each year the population grows by 9%. What will the population be after 6 years? Use the calculator provided to round your answer to the nearest whole number. Round your answer to the nearest whole number. I've got to remember that. Okay, so it is talking about growth. So I did underline that because that tells me to use this formula. All right, the initial amount would be the 290,000 people that we started with. My rate, remember, my rate is right here. Oops, there we go. My rate is right here. But remember, I can't leave my rate as a percent. I have to change it to a decimal. So remember there we go. It's right here, the decimal, and I move it 1, 2 to the left. And so my rate is going to be 0.09. So I'm going to add that on. And my time is the 6 years that they were asking for. I'm going to go ahead and just plug that into the calculator. Either it says the calculator provided, so Alex will provide a calculator for you, or you can, of course, use the scientific one. I ended up with 486,300 people. Now, I'm going to double check this, but the rules for rounding with people should be any kind of decimal, you round it up one more. But I am going to double check that, and I'll be adding a little disclaimer just to let you guys know if that is true, if that's how Alex behaves. Okay. All right, question number 7. Once again, I'm seeing the formula written for me. I can tell from my number inside the parentheses that this is a growth, and it does talk about it being the dollar value of a certain car is T years old given by the following function. So they want me to find the initial value of the car. So this is a growth function because it is 1 1.16. And so this would be my formula right here. Okay, and we already know the answer to the second question. This one is a growth because it is 1.16. My initial value would be P. My initial value would be the P right here, which is this number right here. So 18,500. Like I said, it is a growth. And so to find the percent that it changes, I'm going to take this part right here, and this is going to help me find my percent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to put these two blue parts equal to each other. So 1 plus R is equal to 1.16. Okay, I'm going to think of this as an equation. So draw your line through the center, and you're going to go ahead and subtract the 1. Well, you subtract that and you get 0.16. All you have to do is change this to a percentage. To do that, you move the decimal back to the right. And so this is going to be 16%. 16%. There we go. Okay. Now, number 8, you're going to go ahead and use the Alg calculator to evaluate each expansion. Notice it is asking you to round your answers to the nearest thousandth. Thousandth. Thousandth is when a number looks like this. Remember, the decimal is right there. So you're going to want 1, 2, 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal. That's what the thousandths means. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and use their Alg calculator, or you could go over to the Desmos calculator. Let me show you that one really quick. I'm going to clear this one. There we go. And if you hit this word function right here above the A to the absolute value of A right here, you can come in and it has the E right there. There it is. And then I'm going to go back to the main and I'm going to put in negative 0.2. Yes. And there it is right there. There's my decimal. So I got, oops, too many zeros. There we go. 187,307. There were some more numbers. I'm going to count 3 numbers out. So 1, 2, 3. Here's the one I want to round. This guy right here is going to tell me if I should round it or not. And these ones, they do not matter. So the rule says 5 or more, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. 7 is greater than 5, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more. 0.819 is what I'm going to go ahead and say. I'm going to go back to my Desmos calculator because that's what I have. I don't have the Alg one, but they should work exactly the same. And I'm going to enter to 30. And I'm going to go to my functions. There's my E. Go back to the main. And it was 0.35. Yep. There we go. And so I'm going to go ahead and round that. 326.3855 ... I count 1, 1, 2, 3. There's the one I want to round. This is the one that's going to tell me if I should round it up or let it rest, if I should add 1 more or let it rest. And it says add 1 more because it is 5. Remember, 5 or more, add 1 more. So I'm going to say 86, 386. That's it for that one. All right, question number 9 is going to ask you to graph the exponential function. You're going to go ahead and go over to Desmos and you're going to use that to help you graph. It is asking you just to plot 2 points. It is asking you to put in your asymptote and it is asking you to plot your 2 points. This is not a crosshairs one like before, I do believe. You can go ahead and put in your 2 points and then pick your asymptote and then put them together. Okay, so let me grab this and I'll get my little table. and I just need two numbers. I do want to show you, in case you haven't been to class, where you can find that E. So it was 4, and then the E. Now, if you're on your laptop, you just press the letter E on your laptop, on your computer. But for me, I've got to press A, B, C, and then I'm going to hit the letter E, and then I'm going to go back to 1, 2, 3, to the numbers, and I'm going to raise it to the power. Now my power has an x minus a 1, so I need to use parentheses, because if I don't, what Desmos is going to do is it's going to kick that minus 1 down out of the exponent, okay? And I want to kick myself out of the exponent now and put the minus 3. Okay, I'm going to hit the little widget and it's going to give me my table, and I just pick 3 numbers from there. I can pick any 3 numbers. You can even just click them on the graph. Notice that when I look at them on the graph, the decimal's a little bit less than what I see in the table. That's okay. Alex will plot either one of these and it will count it correct. So those are 3 points right there. You can use any of the 2. I'm going to use 1, 1 for sure. And then I think I'm going to use the 2 and the 7.873. So that's what I used in Alex. And it went ahead and it graphed it for me. Okay, so what happened was Alex actually plotted my points for me, which was really quite nice. And I could see from the graph over there that my asymptote was at -2. Y equals -2 was where my asymptote appeared to be. And I just clicked that one and it would put it in for me. Oof, I know, it was bad. That was bad. I'm sorry. There we go. All right, our last one is just like number 4, where we have to translate it. One thing I want to tell you is you can go ahead and use Desmos to help you out, but you don't really have to. You can tell what the movement is going to be just by looking at some key features. So you can look at H and you can look at K again. They're going to tell you how to move the graph to the left or to the right. H is going to be just like it has been up here in the exponent, and K is going to be right here after. Okay, so you can kind of think of it like e to the x minus h plus k, and then you can think of it as being times this number a. This is how you can think of your function. Okay, there we go. Now, h, remember, is going to move your graph left or right, and remember, h is tricky. K is going to move your graph up or down. Now, what I've noticed is that you have one or the other, but not both. Okay, you have one or the other, but never both. So you're either going to have a number here with your X, or you're going to have a number here after your E and your X, okay? Um, the only thing that I've noticed for this question for A is if it's positive or negative. So do you have a negative E to the X plus 2? Or do you have E to the X plus 2? Right? And then sometimes, then what I've also seen is when you don't have that, you have something like this. Okay? So what you want to notice is a couple of things. You want to notice, is there a number here in the H position? Is there a number here in the K position? And is this negative in front of the E? Is this a negative? And then you want to check right here in front of H, or sorry, in front of X, is it negative? These things are going to tell you what to do, okay? If you have, let me grab this because I'm going to try to help you guys out. This one right here is going to be a flip over the y-axis. And how will you know if you have that? In front, you have a negative in front of x. Okay, if you have a negative in front of x, you're going to click that button. Okay, right here. Oops, I wanted to change my color. This one right here. This one is going to flip your graph over the x-axis. Well, how will you know to flip this one? Well, if you have a negative, I'm trying to decide where to put this, negative in front of your E, of your number E, okay? So you just got to pay attention to where your negative is. So look at mine. There we go. My negative is right here in front of E. So mine is going to do this one. Mine is going to flip in front because I have a negative in front of the E. Okay, so I'm going to click that first. Once I've clicked that, then I have to come in and decide what's H, what's K. So notice in my function here, there is no number after the X. I have no H, right? My H is 0. But I do have a K. I do have a K value. I have a K right here. And remember, K does not trick you. K is -1. So I am going to use this tool right here to move my graph 1 unit down. Okay, so I would click and then I would move and everything will just fall into place. So I click this one and it's going to flip my function over, and then I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to grab the point and I'm going to count down 1 and it's going to move everything down for me. It should look something, and I'm going to do the best I can. Okay, I'm going to do the absolute best I can. I know it's not going to be good, but it's going to look something like this. Okay? Now be careful when you do the domain and range. Please make sure that you read, because I kept getting it wrong because sometimes they flip and the range is on top and the domain is on the bottom. So please, please, please make sure that you read. Remember, your domain are your X values and your range are your Y values. Your domain for these functions is always going to be negative infinity to positive infinity because there is no vertical asymptote. Your range is going to be affected by your by your asymptote that has moved. Be very careful. This asymptote is at y equals -1. So you want to see that number in your in your interval notation, um, and you just got to decide which infinity to use, because so you have to look at the graph and you have to decide which y values does my graph have. Well, notice my graph is here in mainly the positive ones, so I'm going to say -1 to positive infinity. If it was flipped down, pretend like your graph was down here, then that's when you would change it. Let me try this. You would put negative infinity to -1. Okay, that would be the difference between them. Good luck, guys.